Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today I am here to talk about an interesting question, and that is whether or not collector and fan negativity is hurting the growth of physical media. I got some information that has kind of been making me think about this, and I wanted to come and talk to you guys about it. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, so a very, very different question and kind of video today. I'm not going to keep it real long, but you guys know that I've talked about 4Ks and like maybe why some of the reviews are wrong, and that there's a lot of technical things behind the scenes that maybe you don't know about, or when things were being filmed that kind of make 4Ks the way they are, even like what could happen with the DNR situations and stuff like that, and how maybe we apply these buzzwords to things that everybody doesn't fully understand. And like, I'm not an expert. I've made films for a long time. I had to work with film. I've had a lot of that kind of stuff, so I know the process. Nobody knows everything though, but I do have like more of a foundation, and that kind of led to this situation because I've noticed as collectors, and we're all guilty of it as fans or collectors or whatever, we're guilty of wanting the people who do this work to do things exactly the way we want them, give us the exact movies we want, the exact movies we're looking for, in the exact way we're looking for them, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's human nature just to want what you want, but I think sometimes we may need to take ourselves out of that just a little bit and kind of look at the picture at large, especially if we want physical media to grow. And I'll link all the stuff about the technical videos about 4Ks if you haven't seen those and you want to know more about that kind of stuff in here, because those do play a part. I was reached out to by a couple of boutiques, and I'm not going to name who or names, but they're from boutiques out there that we all love, and I was sent an email, and I'm going to read you part of that email here, and this is kind of what sparked this topic. Now, this email came after I did my why 4K reviews are wrong video, why a lot of them are wrong, things like that. So this email came to me after it, and I've just kind of been thinking about it for a while now. And I've seen some things and heard some things, and even felt some things myself that made me think, hey, we might be hurting ourselves here. So here is part of this email. Hi, Chase. I'm a physical media producer for this particular company, and I just watched your video on why 4K reviews are wrong. I was so moved by the fact that someone was finally correcting these reviewers who can, and here is the big part, who can significantly affect sales and overall morale, that I felt overwhelmingly compelled to write and give you a big thank you. Now, right there, that's already heavy. First of all, I was blown away that anybody from these boutiques would get in touch with me based on my video. But then I started thinking about that. And this is not the whole email, but I started thinking about that. And I started thinking, these people out here, they're not some big faceless corporation that we never see. They are mostly film fans and people who've dedicated their lives in one way or other to film because they love film. And they're in there doing intensive restorations, whether it's Vinegar Syndrome, Shout Factory, Arrow, whoever it is. They're in there doing these extensive restorations of stuff. And I'm going to tell you guys, old film can get brittle, turn to vinegar. give off kinds of gases, smells, chemicals, everything else. It is not so easy. It is not easy. Um, this is not like converting a movie shot in digital 6K or 4K or whatever to a digital 4K disc. It is not the same. Um, and so these people aren't faceless. They're watching us talk about their work. And it sucks. I don't care who you are or what you do. If you put your heart and soul and you love something and you work and people just trash it without knowing why a certain thing might be this way or why it looked like that, and it probably most of the time has nothing to do with what they do on the restoration and everything to do with how it was shot and the conditions that the film was in, how they shot then because it was going to be delivered in 2K and then even lower quality, so they didn't, all that kind of stuff I mentioned before, and it has nothing to do with these people. And then they hear us get upset and say, you know, man, this place isn't doing a good job, or this place isn't having a good year or a good month because they didn't put out the movies that we were looking for. Meanwhile, they busted their asses restoring all these other movies to put out there for sale to bring people into the hobby, whether it's collectors, which I feel like Vinegar Syndrome is more targeted to collectors, and different ones are starting to target more to collectors, and others are starting to expand wide to bring more people into this hobby. And we need that, y'all. We need more and more people in that hobby. But it's not some faceless thing, and that's what really hit home. And the fact that it can affect sales. So, first of all, you're affecting their morale. They mentioned that. You're affecting our morale. That's going to be human nature, man. If somebody's busting their butt doing work and all this kind of stuff about doing things they love, and every time they put it out there, it just gets ripped to shreds because people are looking for the tiniest, minute things that they can find to complain about, or they're going to complain or be upset that they didn't get the movies they were specifically looking for. It's like, oh, why did they put out this? Why did they put out that? Now, I'm not saying that anybody's above criticism. I'm not saying that. But there is a such thing as constructive criticism. There's also a such thing as understanding what you don't know. Like, I know that we all get aggravated sometimes when new 4Ks don't have tons of extra special features. But understand, there is a shit ton of moving parts to that. Like, I know even when I tried to put together special features for a couple of my movies, just doing a commentary, this and that, you have to pay. Like if it's a Screen Actors Guild member, you could have to pay a SAG rate. It could renew residuals that maybe ran out on the film, and now they've got to pay a portion of residuals. It's going to cost money to film it, record it, edit it, all that stuff. For instance, I know that Elizabeth Berkley, like 15 years ago, asked for $2,500 for a day rate, plus being, having accommodations and stuff like that. Just $2,500. This was like 15 years ago, for to do a couple of special feature interviews, to come in and do those and film them for the Showgirls DVD, like a big set release, like 15 years ago. And they said no, because it was going to change residuals. It was going to cost them $5,000, between that and here's something you don't know. If you're paying a Screen Actors Guild member $2,500 for their work, you're also paying 20% of that to SAG pension fund. So if it falls under the Screen Actors Guild, the price just keeps going up and up and up, and then you get renewed residuals, which also cuts into your money. So let's say, because a lot of times that's why you're not going to get new features on a lot of bigger films with bigger, more famous and more hot directors, actors, stuff like that, because they can command more money. They may be too busy to do it. They may not care. Whereas if you get like something that was filled, like an older movie that is like an 80s film, like an 80s, like kind of B fun horror movie, and a lot of the actors are not like working on huge projects and stuff like that, it is easier to get them for a low day rate or even a no day rate, or probably a little bit, just because that keeps their notoriety up. A lot of these guys, like actively working actors and people who don't really do as much anymore, they travel the convention circuits, and anytime they can do new roles and new interviews and things like that, it helps them, and it helps their sales, it helps all that kind of stuff. And so they're happy to do it. So you might be able to get a lot more features for like a more obscure older movie because of that. Whereas a big time movie, you might be paying through the nose. And if you let's say it's like that was 15 years ago with Elizabeth Berkley, it was going to cost them every bit of $5,000. Let's say it costs $5,000 and to get two different actors. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers because I don't have specifics. Again, we don't know. But let's say it's their Screen Actors Guild and it's $5,000 to have two of them come in for the day. That's $10,000 total, not counting what you're paying people to film and record it and edit it and all that. Now, $10,000 for a set of new features, and then you're going to sell the movie at $35. So minus costs now. So they're probably only like $250 to make it and package it and everything else. But at $30 a pop, you have to sell a shit ton of copies just to get that $10,000, $12,000, whatever dollars back for the extra features cost you. So you start thinking about it like that. It's like, well, hell, they've got to sell their first, I don't know, 500 copies of a film before they even get into profit because they just added those two new features. So you have to, like, there's a bunch of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. You think of Vinegar Syndrome in a situation like that, they may only have, 4,000 copies of something or 5,000 copies. So if they've got to sell 500 before they get into profit, dude, like, there's 10% of their stock is gone before they even make anything. So and I'm just using that as an example. Of course, there's a myriad of reasons a lot of times, but that's just an example that I have from experience about paying and getting people in and stuff like that, where, I mean, is it cost effective to do that? Like, in how many times, or sometimes like how many more times in many ways can somebody talk about the same movie? If they did special feature interview for the DVD and one for a Blu-ray and all that kind of, like, how many more times can they talk about it? So that counts too. I mean, I love extra features and stuff like that 100%, but you have to kind of keep that in mind when you're like, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? The same thing I went into with Dolby Atmos, kind of a generic explanation, but if all of those audio, like the sound effects were encoded down into one audio line, and that one audio effects track is all that exists now, they probably cannot pick that apart because it's all blended down into one track. So that might be why you only get the 5.1 instead of an Atmos track, because it can't be done. It can't be done. And there, I know that like Peter Jackson's working on like an AI to help do this, but is it still ever going to be correct? So there are a lot of reasons. So I can understand their morale going down when they're like, man, we couldn't do that. We physically didn't have that track, or we couldn't afford to pay that guy, and be like, oh, they're making a lot of money. Man, the margins on these are so damn small. It's so small, like to float a whole company. And you're like, we're working in all this, and they're just complaining about what we don't have. And then that hurts sales. And then that hurts us as collectors in a physical media community, because these people who are on the line of cutting streaming down and starting to invest in physical media again, if they turn on YouTube and 7 out of 10 videos are bitching about how bad every 4K is, and that this studio sucks, or that one, or this boutique sucks, or that one sucks because they didn't give the movies that you want, that's all the push they need to be like, I was thinking about it, but I'm just gonna stick to streaming. Like, those guys love physical media and they collect it and they hate it. Like, that's all it takes is for them to be like, and then we kill our own hobby. We kill the thing that we love. We literally kill it with negativity. The email goes on. I can't tell you enough just how frustrating it is to give so much time, effort, and love to the films that I work on and have someone out there savage them when they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to technical aspects or in general, and they are just fans who love the product. So, yes, the person is coming with some swords there, but understand he's like, hey, have you ever restored a film? Do you? Well, actually, it's a they. It's they because there's more than one on this email. There's just one person speaking for them. So because at the end there's more names. So they're saying like, hey man, like you don't know about how Dolby Atmos works and why we can't do that, or you don't know what quality that film was in, or this or that or the other, and yet you're ripping me. Like that would be like somebody, you worked all day long at your profession, and someone who has never done that profession, you get home, you're exhausted, you've done everything you can, and they totally rip you because why didn't you do this or this or this? And they don't just rip you, they go on and shout to thousands of people what a shitbag you are. Like, I mean, that's tough. And again, that negativity can push people away from collecting because they're on the line anyway. We're trying to win people back. And you ever hear the expression, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar? I'm not saying we got to come on here and kiss ass, and if something's not right, say it's right anyway. Like, for instance, I know people are like, man, the other day he was really defending Scream Factory. And yeah, I was, because they do great work. But I'm going to tell you, I emailed them myself, and I will shout to the rafters that I feel like that as a collector, now I know that they are trying to appeal to the masses more and bring in new people. They're not really, hardcore collectors are not really their target anymore. They're not really. But it would be something as simple as saying, okay, on each 4K release, we have the option of a standard release, a paper slipcover, the standard slipcover release, or a hardbox release like Creepshow, like the one in Creepshow. If they just gave us this release, like this kind of option each time, then you satisfy everybody, right? You satisfy the collectors, you satisfy the general audience at large, and you satisfy the minimalists. So I would happily pay, and this is what I told them, I would happily pay a few more dollars even to have the option to get this more prestigious packaging. So I do think that's something they need to do. So it's fine to call that out, but to just say they suck because they don't give us that option right now, or they're having a horrible year because they're not putting out things that we want. Like, I really want them to put out the rest of John Carpenter's movies. Like, I want Vampires 4K in one of these boxes and stuff like that. But I'll wait, and hopefully they'll do it. But in the meantime, I'm going to pick and choose from the things they do put out to add to my collection. I don't just buy everything, and that's fine. Never feel like you have to buy everything. But pick and choose the things that you want from each label. That doesn't mean we have to blast them when they don't give us exactly what we want, because that's just the edge, the push that people who are on the fence about getting into physical media are looking for to step away from it. And then all we do is hurt ourselves. The email goes on. It is great to see someone as knowledgeable as yourself try to take the time to correct people. And that actually had us leaping off the couch. You took the very words out of our mouths, and we can't thank you enough. Now, that, of course, that makes my ego feel good, blah, blah, blah. I don't know these people at all. I get nothing from any boutique. I get no free shipments. I get nothing. Absolutely nothing from anyone, right? I have a couple of awesome channel members who have sent me some stuff, and I new great stuff, and I'm going to talk about that in a different video because that's awesome. But like, I get nothing from any boutique, nothing except for credit card debt and a low bank account. That's all I get. But that meant a lot because they're just sitting out there and everything is negative, negative, negative. And of course, negativity breeds clicks. It breeds views. But we could literally be killing if these things directly affect morale, that's bad enough. All right, from somebody that's for people that are busting their ass. But if these things that we talk about in everything is just always so negative focused that they're affecting sales from boutiques, we have a major, major problem because we are going to kill physical media. The people who love it are going to be responsible for its deaths just because we want what we want it now, and we think they should do this and do that. You can't make an argument. Like, I think of my debate classes when I was getting my degree in politics, of all things, and I was going to go to law school to be an agent. Like, can you imagine that? I think about debate. Like, you can't win a debate if you don't have the knowledge of what the other side is doing. So if I don't know what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to getting special features together, what kind of state the film was in, and a lot of these people, oh, I've heard the film was bad, and I heard the film was bad. I saw a major channel with Jaws, and I pointed it out. Get out there and run with, well, they had to shoot with two separate films. It was two separate cameras, and those films were in bad shape. Get on and tell people that's why Jaws 3 was bad. Jaws 3 was not even shot with two separate films. It was shot with a over-under process on one film where it split that one film horizontally. So it was not shot with two different cameras. And unless you know someone in the Universal Department, restoration or whatever, that's calling you, telling you what the state of the film is in, I'd be very careful putting any of that stuff out there, because most of it is just rumor started and then everybody feeds their own rumor. So again, unless you know for sure why they did something, it's very hard to criticize. It's very hard to praise. It's hard to praise one company's great special features on this movie and this company's lack of special features on this new movie, when this company might have had this old movie and it cost them a grand total of $500 to get a couple of interviews. And this movie over here might have cost, $12,000 to get a couple of interviews. So, because a lot of times we'll say, why does this movie get so many extra features in this one? Usually because those people in that movie, and this is no knock on them, the people in that movie or involved with that movie are not as in demand, popular, and they don't command a high price, and they don't have as much demands put on their time. So they can do it at a less cost, and they're happy to talk about the big films that they did a long time ago, because maybe they're not doing that as much anymore. So that would explain why some lesser, quote unquote, lesser films that people perceive as lesser and older films have more special features, because those people are just very happy and proud to talk about those movies again, and they're not commanding a high price because they're not super busy with other stuff, and they're not in the top 200 on IMDb anymore and things like that. So there's lots of factors to go in, and I'm not saying everything deserves a good critique, all right? But constructive criticism and criticizing the things that you understand. Like, we have no idea about licensing. Like, I did some research about Day of the Dead, and the last time that I did the research, it looked like this small company, Taurus or something like that. I can't remember. I didn't pull it back up. Has the rights, the licensing rights to it on 4K and stuff, and they may be shopping to the biggest bidders. Like, there's all kinds of things like that behind the scenes that we don't know. So We just sat over here from the other side saying, man, I love this movie. Give it to me. Why can't you give it to me? Or this movie should have looked better on 4K. And yes, you can criticize, just like I did with Jaws 3. There was no reason for Universal during the restoration, after they did the proper film restoration, which they did, it was not all upscaled. I would be blown away if that was it, after having seen so much. But they clearly went back with AI and tried to get more detail in the background, and it wasn't necessary, and it was an unforced error. And without it, no one would have ever said anything about it. They would have never had that to pick at, which in the end just ends up being a collection of seconds and flashes of stuff way in the background. So it's, if you weren't pausing your TV and walking right up to it, you were never going to see it anyway. But it was an unforced error. It was a mistake. It was something they shouldn't have done. And you can call that out. You can for sure call that out. But that doesn't mean the whole movie was upscaled with AI, blah, 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 because you would have had a whole lot of other issues if that were the case. If the whole thing was just done with upscaled AI, you'd have had a whole lot of other issues. So I don't, it's okay to critique that. It 100% is. But, it's also when you just, the grain fluctuation over here. Dude, you have no idea how that scene was lit. You have no idea how that film chemical process went on that film. You have no idea what cameras they used, what lenses they used, what shape that film was in when they got it to restore it. You have no idea. And neither do I. I can look at some stuff and make an educated guess by having worked with cameras and all the crap that I had to do in school and for grades and out in the real world. I can make an educated guess, but I still don't know everything either. And so, enjoy the damn thing. Instead of pushing people away from the hobby, help bring people into the hobby. The fact is, whether a 4K, you think it looks bad or not, it's still the best the damn thing's ever going to look, most likely. And it's sure probably the best it's ever looked that you've seen it in, or I've seen it in. So that's the kind of thing, too, we need to reiterate, critique, but then follow up with, yes, it might have these problems and these problems, but you probably won't see it unless you pause and you go up to your TV and this and that, but it's still a great looking film and it's a fun film, and talk about the positives too, so that we get more people into this hobby, so that it not just survives scratching and clawing, but grows. So be very careful about what we say and do, because people are listening, and people who give their heart and soul to this are listening. So keep that in mind. And no, I'm not going to say who it was. And there's another email too, and I'm not even going to get into it. It's from another boutique, and it's basically saying the same thing. It basically say, thank you so much for saying the things that we can't. It hurts to see all of our work shredded before our eyes, and it hurts to see, I can't see that far away. It hurts to see all of our work shredded before our eyes, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. And that's just part of the other email. Man, think about that. Just think about that. The next time you get super pissed off because a label didn't put out a movie you were looking for this month or this year, and you wish they'd have put something else out, or you complain that they put this out instead of this, or that you don't like this, or they shouldn't have done that with the restoration, or you wish they had this or wish they had, it is totally fine to say you wish they had something. Man, I wish for stuff all the time. Extra features, all kinds of stuff. But understand, sometimes we don't know what might be possible, not be possible, all that kind of stuff. So just ripping it apart hurts the people who are also film fans that do this stuff, and it can definitely push people away who are thinking about getting into physical media collecting and getting back into movies and expanding this back out the way we want it to be and the way we love it. So just be mindful of that, and let's have some positivity out there. We don't have to sing Kumbaya and all that kind of stuff all the time. Go hold somebody else's hand and dance. But at the same time, I'm not into shooting myself in the foot. So, if I complain, then eventually these things will go away and there won't be anybody else. There is no one else coming. We need to expand physical media and physical media collectors, and we can do that with a little bit of positivity and some fair critiques. So that's what I got for you today. And if you enjoyed this, I mean, this is a different kind of video. I do a lot of lists, rankings, 4K reviews, physical media news, all that kind of stuff, all the time. If you're into that and that sounds like your jam, please consider liking and subscribing and joining the channel below. You can become a member of the Pop Culture Friends family. You can become a Pop Culture Pro, a Pop Culture fan, a Pop Culture icon. Lots of tiers. You can do that here. You can do that on Patreon. All kinds of extra stuff behind the scenes of filmmaking. So you can see some raw clips from my movies that go into making a whole scene. All kinds of stuff, special videos, special live streams when we get enough members, all kinds of stuff. But you don't have to do any of that to be part of this family here. Just like, subscribe, ring that bell, and spread the word. I really do thank you all. I appreciate all of you out there who watch and comment on these videos, and all of my channel members. Everybody, I really do. And I appreciate all the hard work that the boutiques are doing out there. Because, hey, I want to be part of a big film community, and I want that community to expand because it's something that I love and that I'm passionate about. And I thank you all for helping expand and make that passion even better. So until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.